Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, grade 5. Today we will study Unit 1, which talk about the friction and friction applications. And at the beginning of the lesson, we will know what is the friction force or the meaning of the friction force. The friction force, it is a force arises between two surfaces when they touch each other, and it affects in the opposite direction of the movement. Again, the friction force arises between two surfaces when they touch each other, and it affects in the opposite direction of the movement. And now we will talk about the types of friction force. There are three types of friction force, which are the friction between solids, friction between solids and air, friction between solids and water. And now we will talk about each one in details. For the friction force between solids, there are factors that affecting the friction force. The first factor is the type of the material surface. When the material surface is rough, the friction force increases, and if the material surface is smooth, the friction force decreases. The second factor is the surface area of the moving body. When the surface area of the moving body increases, the friction force increases, and when the surface area decreases, the friction force decreases. So there is a direct relation between the surface area and the friction force. The direct relation, it means that by increasing the surface area, the friction force increases, and by decreasing the surface area, the friction force decreases. The third factor, that the speed of the body. When the speed of the body increases, the friction force decreases, and when the speed of the body decreases, the friction force decreases. And this was the three factors affecting on the friction force. Okay. The second type of friction, which the friction between a solid object and air. It is a type of friction force that arises between the objects and air. This type of friction is called air resistance, and it acts in the opposite direction of the body movement. Again, this type of friction is called air resistance, and it acts in the opposite direction of the body movement. And there are factors affecting the air resistance. The first factor is the speed of the body. The speed of the body, when it increases, the air resistance increases, and when the speed of the body decreases, the air resistance decreases. So there is a direct relation between the speed of the body and the air resistance. Second factor is the surface area of the moving body. When the surface area increases, the air resistance increases, and when the surface area decreases, the air resistance decreases. So there is also a direct relation between the surface area and the air resistance. And now we will go to talk about the third type of friction, which is the friction between a solid object and water. This type of friction resulting from the movement of the body or the object through water. This type of friction force is called water resistance, and it acts in the opposite direction of the body movement. And there are also two factors that affecting the water resistance. The first factor is the speed of the body. When the speed of the body increase, the water resistance increase. And when the speed of the body decrease, the water resistance decrease. And this is a direct relation. So there is a direct relation between the speed of the body and water resistance. The second factor is the surface area of the moving body. When the surface area increase, the water resistance increase, and when the surface area decrease, the water resistance decrease. So there is direct relation between the surface area and the water resistance. And now let's go to the life application. The first life application that rockets and aircrafts and trains are designed in streamlined shape. Give reason to decrease air resistance. Again, rockets, aircrafts, and trains are designed in streamlined shapes to decrease air resistance. And this occurs because the streamline shape the surface area will decrease, so the air resistance decrease, so the speed of aircrafts and rockets and trains their speed will increase. Number two, birds have streamlined shapes also due to decrease air resistance, because the streamline shapes means that the surface area decrease, so the air resistance decrease, so the speed increase. Number three, fish have streamlined shapes. Have streamlined shapes also, and fish have streamlined shapes to decrease also the water resistance, because streamlined shapes means that the surface area decrease, so the water resistance decrease and the speed of the fish increase. And for parachutists opens the parachute to land safely. Give reason to increase air resistance by increasing its surface area and falling safely, because the speed will decrease. Okay, parachutists open the parachute to land safely to decrease the air resistance by increasing its surface area, and their speed will decrease, so they land safely. Number 6, birds stretch their wings on landing. Give reason to increase air resistance by increasing their surface area, where this causes a decrease in their speed on landing. and in the end we will talk about the advantage of friction. There are advantages that of friction, which are it helps in moving and stopping cars or bicycle. It enables us to control the car speed and to change the car direction. It enables us to work as the friction between our shoes and the ground prevents us from slipping down. Lighting of the match. And now I finish from the lesson. Thank you. Goodbye.